My beloved child, there are days when you cry out and hear nothing, when you search for a sign and the heavens remain silent, when you look up and see only the vast emptiness of stillness. You ask, Father, where are you? Why don't you answer? You tremble in loneliness, thinking you have been abandoned in the storm. But my beloved, I want you to know that silence is not absence. It is the space where faith grows. Like a seed buried deep in the soil before it breaks through, no one sees the life within, yet that is when it grows most powerfully. So it is when I am silent. I am working deep within your soul, preparing what your eyes cannot yet see. I am not the God of noise, nor of constant miracles that make your spirit depend on signs. I am the God of mature relationships, where love does not need proof and faith does not demand sight. When you cannot hear me, you learn to listen with your heart. When you cannot see me move, you learn to trust in my nature, the one who never changes. It is within silence that I make you strong, teaching you to recognize my voice amid 1,000 others. For if I answered every time you called, you would only trust when I spoke. But I desire that you trust even when I am silent. Abraham too once walked through the valley of silence. When I promised him descendants as countless as the stars, I let him wait through long years while his body weakened and hope seemed to fade. Yet in that silence his faith was refined like gold in fire. He no longer believed in the promise because it made sense, but because he knew the one who promised is faithful. In the same way, I am building in you a faith that stands not on emotions but on my unchanging character. Micah 7:7 declares, "But as for me, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me." Do you see, my child? True faith does not demand immediate results. It stands firm in silence, knowing I still hear, still see, and still work all things in love. There are seasons when I step back not to abandon you, but to give you room to discover yourself. I do not want you to become one who follows only for miracles, who believes only when wonders appear and loses hope when heaven is quiet. I want you to become one who believes even when everything seems to fall apart. For true love does not require instant proof. It proves itself through steadfastness in trial. Know this, even when I am silent, my love still echoes through every heartbeat, through every breath you take, through each ray of light that pierces your night. Do not fear the stillness. That is where I whisper the deepest truths. The world is noisy, but I speak softly. People chase after wonders, but I come in the gentle breeze. Like Elijah on Mount Horeb, he found me not in the earthquake or the fire, but in the quiet whisper where his soul ceased to struggle. You will find me there too, in the place that seems empty, where you have nothing left to hold on to except the memory that I still love you. It is there that your faith matures. You often wish that I would guide every step, that every crossroads would come with a sign, that every decision would be marked with clear instruction. But my child, if every choice were predetermined, you would never learn to discern the voice within, nor to trust the wisdom I have already planted in you. I do not want mere obedience. I want companionship. My love is not a rein, it is a pair of wings. And wings grow strong only when you dare to fly. Yet freedom does not mean absence of boundaries. Everything I have made carries within it divine order. The sea may roar freely, but I have drawn its limit with the sand. The sun shines brightly, but I have set its orbit. Humanity is the same. You may choose, but you cannot escape the fruit of what you choose. For the law of righteousness stands firm throughout creation. What one sows, one shall reap. I never use my power to erase the consequences of sin, if doing so would rob your soul of its lesson. My mercy is not a shield from every result. It is the hand that lifts you up when you stumble within your own choices. I know there are nights you lie awake praying through tears, asking for my answer. You feel like a child knocking on the Father's door while I remain quiet inside. But my beloved, I am there just beyond the door, listening to every knock. My silence is not indifference. It is an invitation for you to rise above emotion and enter faith. I want you to trust that the door is still open even when you cannot hear the hinge turn. True faith is not born in daylight, but in the night. Like a tree that drives its roots deeper in the dry season, your faith is sinking deeper through each moment of quiet. When I am silent, I am teaching you to trust my nature rather than the outcome of circumstances. I am the merciful Father who never forgets you. I am the covenant keeper through all generations. You may forget me in moments of weakness, but I can never forget you. Though a mother may forget the child she has borne, yet I will not forget you, says Isaiah 4:9-15. Remember this, my child. My love is not dependent on your response. It flows from my essence, the one who does not change. So my child in the silence pauses and breathes. Let your heart listen to my voice, not outside of you, but within. I am in you, not far from you. When you learn to trust amid silence, you will discover that silence is the language of eternity, where I speak through light, through breath, through the quiet movements of grace. And when your soul learns that language, you will no longer fear the seasons when heaven seems still, for you will know that even in the quiet, I am writing wonders. My beloved child, from the moment you were conceived in eternity's design, I placed within you the power to choose. It is both a gift and a sacred responsibility. Freedom is not a sign of my absence, but a testimony of my respect for your dignity. I did not create you as a puppet that moves only when I pull the strings. I formed you as a soul bearing my image with will discernment and the ability to choose love or turn away. For only in freedom can love be real. If I forced you to believe your faith would be fear, if I bound you within my will, you would never know what faithfulness means. So I opened the door of freedom and placed in your hands the key of choice. Sometimes you wish I would make every path clear, that every crossroad would come with a sign, that every decision would be marked by a divine word. But my child, if everything were mapped out, you would never learn to distinguish the voices within, nor trust the wisdom I have planted in you. I do not desire you to be merely obedient. I desire you to walk beside me. My love is not a leash, it is wings. And wings are strengthened only when you dare to soar. Yet that freedom is not without order. Everything I give carries within it the harmony of my design. The ocean may crash and roar, but I have drawn its boundary with the shore. The sun shines freely, but I have fixed its course. Humanity is the same, you may choose, but you cannot escape the harvest of your choices. For the law of righteousness remains: what you sow, you shall reap. I will not use my power to erase the consequence of sin if it means your soul learns nothing. My mercy does not remove every outcome. It lifts you up from the ground when you fall because of your own choices. Know this, my child. Sometimes I am silent not because I do not hear, but because I want you to pause and listen to the voice of your own conscience, illuminated by the Holy Spirit. I have placed within you a compass, and that compass trembles when you stray, but you must learn how to sense it. If I were to intervene every time, you would never learn the sacred art of listening from within. There are moments when I slow my steps, not to abandon you, but to give you the chance to walk on your own, to discover that you can stand, can move forward, and can choose in the light. I have seen many who pray, Lord, show me the way. And when I do, they ask, but Lord, are you sure, as though I could be mistaken. Others hear no direction and quickly conclude that I am silent. But my child, silence is not the absence of guidance. It is the opportunity to use what I have already taught you. I do not repeat the same lesson forever. If you have learned to love, I will allow you to love amid difficulty. If you have learned to trust, I will let you walk through a stretch of road without signs, so that you may trust through experience itself. Remember Adam and Eve. I gave them the whole Garden of Eden and placed only one small boundary. Yet that single limit gave love its meaning. Without the ability to choose wrongly, choosing rightly would lose its value. Freedom is the foundation of love, but also the beginning of responsibility. When you choose against my word, I am not angered like a tyrant defied. I grieve like a father watching his child wound themselves. My love does not diminish, but our fellowship loses its joy. Still, I wait patiently for your return, knowing that some lessons must be carved into the soul through consequence. Do not think that I stand afar watching you struggle. I am in every drop of sweat, in every tremor of fear, in every tear of remorse. I do not withdraw my hand, but neither do I strip you of the dignity of maturity by deciding everything for you. Like a father teaching his child to walk, he may hold the child at first, but then he lets go, allows them to stumble, and rejoices when they stand again. He does not wish for them to remain forever in his arms. So it is with you, my child. I do not want you to depend only on miracles. I want you to learn to walk by faith, and I know there are times when freedom frightens you. When faced with choices you fear choosing wrongly, you wish I would decide for you so you would bear no responsibility. But truly, growth in my kingdom does not come from always being right. It comes from learning when you are wrong and returning when you are lost. I do not need your perfection. I seek your honesty. When you are honest about your weakness, my grace has room to pour in. When you admit your failure, my mercy finds a doorway to enter and heal. Do not fear failure. The only fear worth having is the fear of closing your heart to me. Freedom is also where you learn your own limits. You cannot control time outcomes or the responses of others. You can only choose obedience. And that is what makes obedience precious. It is voluntary, not forced. I do not compel you to love me, but when you do, all of heaven rejoices. I do not command you to pray, but when you bow your head, all the realm of light leans close to listen. For true love is not born from command, but from recognition that the one who calls you is good and all he does has purpose. You have asked me, why didn't you intervene when I was on the edge of a mistake? And I answer, because I had already spoken, my child. I never leave you without my word. You simply do not always remember or believe it. Sometimes I have reminded you through an old scripture, through the counsel of a friend, through a quiet unease within your spirit. But you did not listen because you longed to hear something more pleasing. When you chose your path, I still followed, not to approve, but to rescue when you fell. I am not the one who prevents every error, but the one who turns each mistake into a lesson that makes you wiser. Therefore, do not fear choice. Do not shrink from decision as long as your heart remains turned toward me. I do not demand that you always be right. I ask only that you be truthful when you are wrong. You may lose your way, but you will not be lost. You may be wounded, but you will not be destroyed. For my mercy is not limited by your mistakes. It is hindered only when you refuse to return. Remember, even when you take the wrong road, I still know the way home. My child, the limits I set in my guidance are not withdrawal but formation. I want to train your soul to stand in the light, to recognize my voice in the dark, to walk in faith when the stars are gone. That is the honor of spiritual maturity, not to be constantly led, but to live by the Spirit I have placed within you. When you act from love and wisdom, enlightened by that Spirit, you are walking in my will even when I speak no further word. My love does not wish for you to remain a child who must be led by the hand at every step. It desires that you become a companion, one who can share the burden of the world with me, one who builds goodness alongside me. That is why I sometimes fall silent, sometimes step back, sometimes let you decide, not because I am weary, but because I trust what I have planted in you. I trust that the light within you, which is me, is enough to guide your path. Remember, this freedom is a gift, but also a test. It reveals who truly trusts. When there is no reminder, no miracle, no clear voice, what will you choose? It is in that moment that the true nature of faith is revealed. And I promise you this, if you choose the light, even the smallest flicker, I will multiply it into dawn. If you choose to return, I will run to embrace you. If you choose to stand firm in the dark, I will make the darkness tremble at the light within you. My beloved child, maturity does not come in warm daylight, but in the long nights without a moon. No one grows through applause, but through the quiet hours where they feel misunderstood. I know there are times when you ask, why is the journey of faith so full of turns? Why does believing lead me through the fire? But my child, it is in the fire that gold is refined, and in silence that the soul learns to listen. If I always spoke, you would never know the worth of stillness. If I always acted for you, you would never recognize the strength that lies within. Maturity in my kingdom is not measured by the number of miracles you witness, but by the depth of faith you keep when no miracle comes. I do not want you merely to receive grace. I want you to become a vessel of it, and that can only happen when your faith has been tempered by stillness and trial. You must learn to trust what I have spoken, even when circumstances seem to contradict it. Remember, my word does not change simply because time has passed. When I say I will do it, you can believe that though the winds may shift and the earth may shake, I am still at work, even if my ways are not what you expect. My silence is the classroom through which all my children must pass. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he led Israel out of Egypt. Joseph lay in prison before he was exalted to be governor. David was driven from the palace and wandered the deserts before the crown was placed upon his head. I never removed those silent years from their lives, because it was there that they learned to trust me more than their position, to cling to the promise more than to their circumstances. Had they known only ease, they would never have discovered that I remain God even in the wilderness. So it is with you. The years that seem wasted are the very foundation of the calling you are about to carry. I know there are times you feel you are walking in fog, unsure of direction. But my child, true faith does not need to see far. It needs only to take one step. As you step, the light will spread. Like a lamp to your feet, it does not flood the entire road, yet it keeps you from stumbling. I do not show you the whole future, for if you saw it, you would have no need to trust. I do not explain everything, for if you understood it all, you would have no need to surrender. Maturity in me is not knowing everything, but knowing how to believe when you do not yet know. Spiritual maturity is also learning to hear me in the small things. I do not always thunder. Sometimes I speak through a passing breeze, through a glance from another, through a scripture you have read 100 times that suddenly burns alive within you. Sometimes I speak through failure, through another's silence, through a closed door. If you seek me only in miracles, you will miss me in the ordinary. But if you learn to recognize me in each moment, you will find your life filled with my footprints. My child, maturity is when you stop blaming me for what I do not do. When you understand that my no often hides a greater yes. When you trust that every delay is part of a perfect plan. When you know that I owe you nothing and yet give you everything out of love, then you have grown. Maturity is not the end of tears, but learning to weep in my arms. Not the absence of fear, but trembling within peace. Not a life without falls, but the grace to rise in hope. Look back to those who went before you, my child. Abraham obeyed and set out without knowing where he was going, leaving the comfort of the familiar he held to one certainty I had promised. Moses stepped up to the Red Sea with enemies behind and the abyss before him, simply because I said, "Lift up your staff." Esther dared to enter the king's court, knowing it could cost her life, because she believed I had called her for such a time as this. They did not require proof, they required me, and I did not fail them. Neither will you be forsaken. Maturity is also learning to distinguish my voice from the voice of fear. Many think I am leading them when they are merely chasing their emotions. Many think I am silent, when in truth they refuse what I am saying. When you begin to love truth more than comfort, when you are willing to hear me, even when my word requires change, When you can pray, "Not my will, but yours be done," then you are growing in me. That is the mark of a soul that trusts more than it clings to safety. My child, I am not seeking the perfect, I am seeking the truth. An honest heart is worth more than a flawless ritual. I do not measure you by success, but by the depth of your communion with me. The world may see weakness or failure, but I see a soul that is humble, teachable, and willing to be shaped by my hands. Do not be ashamed of learning. Rejoice that you are still soft. Only pliable clay can be formed into something new. Maturity in me does not distance you from others. It makes you more compassionate. Those who have suffered know how to soothe wounds. Those who have wandered know how to guide the lost home. When you let me turn hurts into lessons, mistakes into wisdom, and tears into seeds of kindness, you allow me to make you an instrument of love. And that is the summit of maturity, not to be stronger than others, but to be fuller so that you can love more than before. Silence is never meaningless. It is part of the sacred rhythm where I teach you to listen by faith, to walk by trust, and to see with the eyes of hope. When your soul has learned this, you will no longer fear dry seasons, for you will know they are when the roots of faith go deep. You will no longer fear the dark, for you will know that darkness only makes my light shine brighter. You will no longer worry when there is no sign, for you will know that I am still there, the one who never slumbers. And one day when you look back, you will realize that it was in the stillness you heard me most clearly. It was in freedom that you chose to love me more deeply. It was in trial that you discovered you were stronger than you knew. Then you will understand that I never left you, not for a single moment. I only stepped back far enough for you to see your own growth, to recognize that faith is not a crutch, but a pair of wings, and that my love is not endless shelter, but the fire that teaches you to fly. This is the call from the silence, the call that leads you from dependence to freedom, from weakness to strength, from fear to trust. When you answer that call, I will lead you into a new season, one in which you not only hear my voice, but become my voice to this world. My beloved child, faith is truly formed when the winds rise. When the sea is calm, anyone can claim to trust me. But only when the waves rage, when the sky turns black, when no escape appears before you do, you discover what your faith rests upon: shifting sands of emotion or solid rock. I do not send you into storms to drown you, but to teach you to walk on the water with me. If you live only in calm, you will know me as the God of comfort. But when you pass through the storm, you will know me as the God of power, steadfastness, and miracles in the midst of danger. When the winds rise, you often panic. You ask, Lord, why don't you still hear these waves? Why do you sleep while my boat is tossing? But my child, I do not sleep. I am silent so that you may see that the storm cannot swallow you while I am with you. Do you remember the disciples on the Sea of Galilee? When the storm came, I was there lying in the boat. They were frantic and I was at rest, not because I did not care, but because I knew that storm held no authority over a vessel where I am present. When they woke me, I said one word, "Be still." And the wind ceased, the sea grew calm. Then I asked, "Why are you afraid? Where is your faith?" They saw the wind and waves obey me. But what I wanted them to learn was more than a miracle. It was peace in the storm, for true peace does not depend on circumstances. It abides in the one who is with you. My child, I do not promise that following me will spare you every tempest. I only promise that no storm will destroy you. I do not always lift you out of the waves. I teach you to walk upon them. I do not silence the wind at once because I want you to learn to hear my voice above its roar. If you can only hear me when the sky is clear, you will lose your way when the weather turns. But when you learn to hear me in the whirlwind, your soul will never fear again. Every storm in your life is not a punishment, but a training ground of heaven. It reveals what within you must be strengthened and what must be pruned away. It shows whether you truly trust in me or only in comfort. When I allow the winds to rise, it is not because I have withdrawn my hand, but because I am reshaping your foundation. Some things can only be revealed under pressure. Some faith can only be proven in fire. Just as gold cannot be purified without the furnace, so your soul cannot shine without being refined through adversity. Remember, even my most faithful servants have walked through storms. Jonah was swallowed by the waves when he fled from my call, but in the belly of the fish he learned that there is no place beyond my grace. Peter stepped out onto the water, and when he looked at the waves he began to sink, but in that very moment I took his hand. You see, I do not demand perfect faith. I desire courageous steps. Step out of the comfort zone away from the life of control, and let me lead you through what you fear most. You often pray that I give you strength, yet true strength does not come from avoiding trials, but from walking through them. If I removed every storm, you would remain weak. If I silenced every threat, you would never learn courage. It is in the fiercest nights that you see lightning reveal the path, that you feel my hand reaching through the rain. When you tremble, I am there. When you think you are sinking, I am the power that lifts you up. Do you not know? It is in the storm that I draw closest to you. There are winds that come not to destroy, but to separate, to strip away what does not belong, the fragile attachments, the shallow securities you still cling to. They expose what your foundation truly is. If it rests on reputation, talent, or people, it will be swept away. But if it rests on me, you will never collapse. Let the storm do its work, not to ruin, but to refine. When the winds subside, you will stand among the ruins of what once was, yet your soul will shine brighter, purer, stronger. I am not afraid of storms, my child. I use them as my hands to teach you how to stand. If you only ever run from them, you will never discover the strength that faith can give you. I am training you as a soldier of the kingdom, not one who lives by emotion, but one who stands in truth. The enemy fears most, not the one who always wins, but the one who falls and rises again, who weeps, yet still believes, who trembles, yet still moves forward. When the wind rises, remember, no storm lasts forever. Every trial has a boundary, and that boundary is set by me. I will never allow the storm to exceed your strength, but I will allow it to be strong enough to make you grow. Just as trees drive their roots deeper when the wind blows harder, so your soul grows firm when it learns to stand amid turmoil. You will find that after every gust has passed, you understand my faithfulness more deeply. No one can truly know my steadfast heart until they have seen me hold them upright in the storm. Do not fear the thunder. It is only the herald of approaching light. Every storm is a sign that I am moving, that I am working in your life. When I send the wind, it is to change the stale air, to sweep away the dust of old days. The wind brings new life, though at first it may make you tremble. Do not hide, my child, for I am in the midst of it. Even when you cannot see, the wind is carrying you toward a new land where your soul will expand, your faith will mature, and fear will give way to peace, because you will know that I am your calm. When you stand in the storm, do not fight against it. Learn to listen in the wind. Perhaps I am calling your name through its roar. Perhaps I am teaching you to sing in the rain, to believe while the thunder rolls. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and whisper, Lord, I know you are here. When you say this, the wind ceases to be your enemy and becomes a witness to your faith. My child, the storm does not erase your faith, it reveals it. If you stand firm, it is not because you are strong, but because I am your foundation. And when the storm is over, you will not be the same. You will not only say, God is good, but he is faithful, for I have seen him in the wind. Do not ask me, when will the storm end? Ask instead, Lord, what must I learn within it? For when the lesson is complete, the wind will still, and the new sky will open. I promise every storm will bring a harvest. Every gust will leave the heavens clearer. Then you will no longer fear when the winds rise, for you will know I am the one who commands the wind to serve my purpose, and no wave can cross the boundary I have set. My beloved child, peace is not the absence of storms, but my presence within them. You often pray, Lord, make the storm stop, but I say, my child, let me teach you peace in the midst of the wind. If peace comes only when all is calm, it is merely outer quiet, not inner stillness. I desire to give you the kind of peace the world cannot comprehend, the peace that stands firm when everything else falls apart, that does not depend on the weather of life, but on the connection between you and me. Do you remember the disciples after my resurrection? The doors were locked for fear, and their hearts were like a boat tossed in waves. Yet I appeared among them and said, peace be with you. Do not fear not, everything will be fine, but peace be with you, because peace is not a promise, it is a person, it is me. When I dwell within you, peace is no longer an emotion, but a spiritual reality, a kingdom within that cannot be shaken even if the world trembles. True peace is not escaping the storm, but learning to rest in me while the wind still blows. When you know I am in the boat, you need not command the waves to cease. When you know I hold your hand, you need not ask how long until the shore. For true peace does not depend on when, but on who. As long as I am there, you will not be overwhelmed. As long as you look at me, fear cannot overtake your soul. Peace is the ability to remain still while everything around you roars. It does not arrive in a moment. It grows from daily trust in me. I do not create peace by removing problems, but by giving you new eyes to see them. When you view the storm as an enemy, you tremble. But when you see it as the tool I use to move you forward, you begin to give thanks. Peace begins with this understanding that everything which happens rests safely in my hands and nothing can cross the line I have drawn. In Daniel 3, when the 3 friends of Daniel were thrown into the furnace, the fire still burned, but they were not consumed. They were not saved from the fire, they were saved in it. Their peace did not come because the flames died down, but because they knew who was with them. So it is with you. I do not promise that the fire will stop burning, but I promise it will not harm you. True peace does not extinguish the storm. It carries your soul through it without fear. Peace does not come from control, but from surrender. As long as you strive to understand, predict, or grasp, your heart will remain restless. But when you say, Lord, I do not need to know what is coming, I only need to know you are here, then the storm may still rage, but your soul has found its refuge. For true peace is not a solution, it is a relationship. It is not found in changed circumstances, but in trust placed upon the one who never changes. I know, my child, that you have tried many times to keep calm through reason, to tell yourself, this too shall pass. But I do not want you merely to endure. I want you to rest. Resting does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means ceasing from trying to save yourself. When you stop struggling in anxiety and place yourself in my hands, peace will flow like a river gently through your soul. As I declared in Isaiah 2:6-3, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. You will see that peace is not a reward after the storm, but the condition by which you walk through it. If you wait for the waves to settle before you rest, you will wait forever. But if you let me be at rest within you, the waves will lose their power to disturb. Peace does not come after the storm, it walks with you through it. Do you know, my child, that storms test not only faith but also expose false faith? They reveal where your heart truly rests. Many say they trust me, but when the storm comes, they panic, because their trust was in outcomes, not in the one who gives them. Peace exists only when the roots of your faith are anchored deeply in me. The winds may blow, the waves may crash, but roots that reach the rock can never be torn out. Let me teach you the art of stillness amid the noise. When you choose silence over complaint, prayer over fear, and songs over despair, You proclaim that you trust me more than your circumstances. In that moment, peace ceases to be an emotion and becomes an atmosphere surrounding you. It shields you from the arrows of worry, from the flames of fear, from the poison of doubt. Peace is not armor worn on the outside, it is the breath of the Spirit within. You often think peace is a reward for the strong, but in truth, peace is a gift for the weak who rest in the Father's hands. When you stop pretending to be unshakable and begin to admit that you need me, peace comes like a cool breeze over a weary heart. It comes not because you have mastered control, but because you have stopped needing it. I have given you my peace, my child, not the kind that can be taken away, but the kind sealed by the cross. When I said, "It is finished," not only was your sin redeemed, but your soul was freed from fear. The storm may rise, but it cannot sink the vessel sealed with my blood. Let my peace reign in your heart like a king. When worry knocks, let peace answer. When fear whispers, let peace reply. You have no place here. When you choose peace over panic, you declare that you trust me enough not to understand everything. You prove that faith is not the absence of fear, but the choice to believe in the midst of it. And you will come to realize this peace has its own voice. It does not shout, yet it is powerful. It does not display itself, yet nothing can move it. It is the whisper of heaven echoing through a noisy world. When you carry that peace within, you will become a peacemaker to others. As I have said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Matthew 5:9. Storms will still come, for every storm opens a new lesson. But now you know peace is not the final prize. It is your companion along the way. You will learn to smile in the rain, to sing in the thunder, to lift your head when the wind howls. For you know that I am in you, and you are in me, and no storm can take that away. When you understand this, you will no longer pray, "Lord, make the waves stop," but rather, "Lord, teach me to be still among the waves." Then the storm may rage, but it will no longer rage within you. Your soul will have become my dwelling place, and where I dwell, there is always peace. My beloved child, there are battles you can avoid, but the fire that tests faith is not one of them. It does not come to burn you, but to refine you. It does not come to punish, but to separate gold from dross. In my hands, fire is never a destroyer. It is a craftsman. It removes what no longer belongs, so that what remains may be true, pure, and enduring. You may fear the fire, but remember that I am within it. I do not stand afar watching you suffer. I am there walking with you through every wave of heat, so that the fire does not consume you, but consumes the chains that have bound your soul. When I permit the fire, you often ask, "Why, Lord? Why must I endure this?" But my child, I have never sent a flame without purpose. I allow it only to touch the places that need renewal. There are things within you, pride, fear, dependence on others, that only fire can dissolve. What you would not release by will, I will help you release through trial, not to wound, but to free you from yourself. Like a silversmith who never takes his eyes off the furnace until he sees his reflection in the metal, I will not take my eyes off you until my image is seen in your soul. The fire is permitted to burn only until that reflection appears. And when the light within you begins to mirror my nature, kindness, humility, unshakable love, the fire will cease, for its work will be done. Remember the story of the 3 young men in the furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were thrown into the fire, not because they were wrong, but because they were right. They refused to bow to the golden image, and that faith led them into the flames. Yet the miracle was this: they were not alone. The enemy saw 4 men walking in the fire, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. You see, the fire did not harm them, it only burned away their ropes. Likewise, what you endure now is not meant to destroy you, but to set you free from bonds you do not even see. When you come out of the fire, you will not be who you were. You will carry the fragrance of heaven, not the smoke of sorrow. Do not fear the burning days of trial. They will not last forever. Even the fire must obey me. No flame is allowed to burn longer than the time I decree. I am the God of justice, but also the God of boundaries. I permit the fire to work, but my hand remains on the switch. And when the time comes, I will breathe upon the ashes, and life will rise again from what once burned. You will see that the very place of ruin will blossom into something new, stronger, purer, more beautiful than before. Do you see, my child? The fire not only reveals your nature, it reveals mine. When you walk through the flames, you will know that I am not a distant God upon a throne, but the companion in your suffering. You will know that I am not merely the God of miracles, but the God of faithfulness. I do not always prevent the fire, but I always dwell within it. That is my promise, and I have never broken it. Sometimes I allow the fire to touch what you hold dear, not to take it from you, but to redefine its worth. You have placed hope in what can be lost in people, in work, in dreams, in success, but I want you to know that only I cannot be consumed. When those things fade, you will see more clearly the true light, the true source, the true foundation. And in that holy emptiness, a new peace will be born. Not the peace that comes from having all things, but the peace that comes from knowing that with me you lack nothing. Understand that faith does not grow in comfort. Faith truly takes root in adversity. When everything collapses, your soul will find its true refuge, not in control, but in the love of the one who never changes. It is when you are stripped of things that you learn the worth of what cannot be taken. It is when you are weak that you feel true strength. As Paul said, "When I am weak, then I am strong." 2 Corinthians 1:2-1:0. Trials do not come to destroy faith, but to prove it. If a seed can survive the winter, it shows the life within is real. If a soul can sing in sorrow, it proves its source of life is not of this world. You do not know how much faith you have until faith is the only thing left. And that is why I allow the fire to burn. For in its bright light, you will see yourself more clearly, and you will see me more clearly. Do not be quick to ask me to extinguish the fire. Ask me to be with you in the fire, for my presence is the true shelter. I do not guarantee an easy road, but I promise the fire will become the light that guides you. Even when you feel you are losing everything, I am shaping you for something greater. Every tear you shed in the flames becomes oil to fuel the lamp of your calling. Every pain you endure is a jewel in the crown of glory. I will place upon your head when I summon you into a new season. No flame in your life is meaningless. Every flame writes a chapter in the story I am telling. You are not being burned at random. You are being refined with purpose. And when this chapter closes, you will emerge not only unharmed, but carrying the radiance of the very fire that once tested you. Be courageous. This fire will not last forever, but the faith you gain from it will endure eternally. One day when you look back, you will see that every trial, every sorrow, every night of fire had its reason. You will recognize that I never left you. For a moment I was turning ashes into jewels, forging an instrument for you to bear my light into places only those who have passed through fire can truly understand. Do not fear the fire. For I, the one who walked with the 3 young men in the furnace, am still the one who walks with you. I, the one who kept Daniel at peace in the lion's den, still surrounds you with the peace of heaven. I, the one who made Paul sing in prison, will make your lips sing through the long night. Fire is not a sign of abandonment, but proof of choice. I refine only true gold, for only gold is worthy of refining. When you understand this, you will no longer fear the fire, but be grateful for it. For you will see that the flame does not take what is most precious. It illuminates what you have had from the beginning, my image within you. Then you will step out not carrying the smell of smoke, but the fragrance of grace. You will know that the trial did not defeat you through it. You became a torch to the world. My beloved child, there is no new life without dying that comes before it. There is no dawn without night. No soul is reborn who has not passed through the refining fire. You think fire only burns, but in my hands fire is where life begins again. Everything I allow to melt does not vanish. It is recast into a form that is better, purer, and more enduring. I do not patch what is broken, I recreate from the ashes. When I lead you through the fire, I am not only testing you, I am reshaping you. The fragments you thought were lost, I am gathering to build something new. The fire does not destroy you. It destroys what no longer serves the destiny I have prepared. Like a potter reshaping a cracked vessel, I am remolding you with my loving hands. You may hear the sound of breaking, but do not be afraid. It is not the sound of ruin, but the sound of rebirth. Rebirth does not happen in a moment. It is a sacred process. It begins when you dare to let go of the old, when you stop trying to rescue what has passed and say, Lord, I am ready for you to make me new. Then I enter not to decorate your soul, but to change its very nature. From ashes I breathe the breath of life. From withering I call forth a new spring. Like a tree with branches snapped by a storm, you may think it is dead, but its roots live deep underground where no one sees. So it is when you feel you have fallen, I am still nourishing the deep roots within your soul. Rebirth is not starting over from the surface. It is starting over from the depths. I do not restore what is outward. I restore what is within, where light and darkness have struggled, where faith is born from the ashes of doubt. Do you remember Job? When he lost everything, children, wealth, honor, he sat among the ashes, scraping his skin with shards. Yet there he cried, my ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Job 4:25. Do you see? The rebirth of the soul begins when faith no longer rests on reports of others, but becomes your own encounter. I do not want you to know me only by reason. I want you to experience me with your heart. That happens when you pass through losses you cannot explain and discover that I am the one who remains and the one you truly need. Rebirth also means learning to forgive others, yourself, and at times even the things you do not understand. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is admitting that I am great enough to turn all sorrow into good. When you forgive, you do not say the wound was right. You say it no longer has the right to imprison you. Forgiveness is the key that opens freedom, and freedom is the soil where new life grows. I cannot pour new wine into an old wineskin, for it would burst. Likewise, I cannot pour new life into a soul still clinging to regret and bitterness. Everything I take is part of a greater miracle. I do not remove without giving better. When you lose a door, I am building a house. When you lose a relationship, I am preparing a new community. When you lose a dream, I am kindling a calling. Sometimes I let you fall into darkness not to punish you, but so you may see that the light is not out there but within you, where I dwell. My child, the fire does not merely change you, it makes you new. It teaches you to see with different eyes. Once you viewed life through fear of loss, now you see with gratitude, for every moment is grace. Once you asked me to remove the trial, now you ask me to be with you in it. Once you begged to escape the pain, now you seek to understand its purpose. That is rebirth, when the soul stops thrashing and begins to move with the current of grace. Rebirth is not returning to what was, it is becoming what you have never been. I do not take you back to the past. I lead you into the future I have prepared. The ashes of yesterday will fertilize tomorrow. Tears will water the fields of promise. What seemed lost will bloom in the season I appoint. And when you look back, you will see nothing was truly lost. It was transformed. Remember that I am the God of life, not of repetition. I do not rebuild the past. I create the future. I do not patch broken dreams. I grant new visions. And I do this not because you deserve it, but because I love you. My love never grows weary of making all things new. As surely as dawn follows every night, I will not let your soul remain trapped in twilight. When you begin to see yourself changing, do not be afraid. It is not that you are losing yourself, it is that you are returning to the image I intended from the beginning. The fire only burns away what is false, the labels the world has placed on you, the masks you wore to hide your fears, the dust that clung to you from past journeys. When all of that falls away, you will see your true form reflecting my glory like a mirror of light. Stand firm in this process. Rebirth is never easy, but it is a quiet miracle. You will not notice the change day by day, yet one morning you will wake and realize that what once frightened you no longer holds power. You will speak with the voice of peace, love with the heart of compassion, and live with the freedom of one who knows that the old has passed away and the new has come. I have begun this work for you, and I will not stop until it is complete. Believe that every loss is a sign of a beginning woven in light. When you learn to see me in the ashes, you will no longer fear the fire, for you will know that it is my hand touching you, shaping something new. My beloved child, after the fire fades, what remains is not ruin but the foundation of true strength. This strength is unlike what the world celebrates, loud, boastful, and outwardly powerful. True strength is the quiet soul that knows who dwells within. It does not need to prove to conquer or to be seen. It only needs to stand steady, humble, resolute, knowing that the one who formed it still abides within. Once you thought strength meant never falling, but after walking through the fire, you understand that true strength is falling in grace and rising in faith. You once thought the strong do not cry. Now you know the strong are those who weep in the Father's arms. Tears do not make you weak. They reveal that you still love, still feel, still live. The world teaches you to hide your wounds. I teach you to turn your wounds into glory. For where you are wounded most deeply, my light enters most freely. When the soul is reborn, its strength takes on a new shape. It is no longer self-confidence, but trust. You no longer say, I can, but you can in me. You no longer rely on your ability, but on my faithfulness. And in that dependence you find freedom. When you stop striving to prove yourself, you begin to live in grace. For grace does not demand effort. It asks for surrender, and in surrender you discover a strength that cannot be shaken. Look at those I used in Scripture. None of them were strong by human standards. Moses said he was slow of speech, yet I used his mouth to declare my power. David was just a shepherd boy, yet I placed in his hand the stone that made an empire tremble. Esther was an orphan girl, yet I raised her as a savior for her people. Paul once persecuted the church, yet I made him a messenger of grace. You see, I do not choose the strong, I choose the willing. True strength does not come from ability, but from availability when you allow me to work through you. And now you stand in that same place. The fire has softened your heart, trials have broken your pride, and pain has opened the door to compassion. You are no longer who you were. Your strength now is not for conquering others, but for conquering yourself. You no longer seek power to control, but power to love. You no longer desire to speak loudly, but to listen deeply. You no longer long to witness miracles, you long to become one. This is the new form of strength, the strength that bows low, that loves quietly, that stands firm, even when standing alone. True strength is not born in the cheers of victory, but in the silent nights when you still whisper, I believe. When you sing, though you feel nothing. When you pray, though you see no result. When you love, though you've been wounded, then you are strongest. For true strength is not measured by ease, but by endurance of faith amid the impossible. Like a tree growing on rock whose roots find no soft soil, it learns to cling deeper and reach higher. So too your soul learns to stand firm in the place that once seemed unlivable. You once prayed for power to change the world, but I am giving you power to change yourself first. For when you are transformed, everything around you will follow. When your heart carries peace, the storm outside loses its hold. When your soul reflects light, darkness cannot come near. When you walk in humility, I open doors of power before you. True strength does not need to show itself, it shines on its own. Do not despise the small steps. One trembling step of faith can shake heaven and earth. One whispered prayer can move angels. One quiet act of love can alter another's destiny. You need not perform great deeds to prove your strength. Faithfulness in small things is proof enough of true power. You will discover that this new strength no longer makes you tense but light. Once you tried to grasp everything, now you learn to release. Once you feared loss, now you trust that nothing that belongs to you and me can ever be lost. Once you were weary from trying to control, now you rest knowing that I control all, and in that rest, true strength is born. True strength also bears the mark of gentleness. The world thinks the strong are those who dominate, but in my kingdom the strong are those who stoop to lift others. The more power you carry, the more you must learn to love. For power without love breeds fear, but power with love brings life. Use this new strength to heal, not to command, to build, not to break, to comfort, not to boast. Do not fear if the world fails to recognize you. A tree with deep roots does not flaunt them, yet those roots keep it standing through the storm. I see what others do not. I see that you have learned to be silent instead of defensive, to forgive instead of retaliate, to pray instead of resent. These things, small in human eyes, shine brightly in mine. For I know this is true strength, the strength of a soul refined by fire that still chooses to love, still chooses to believe, still chooses to live. And soon I will bring you out of this hidden place, not to return as before, but to become a light for those still in the fire. You will understand the hurting, for you have been there. You will know how to comfort, for you have been healed. You will know how to lead, for you have once been lost. Every scar upon your soul will become a seal of my power. They will no longer be marks of pain, but testimonies of restoration. Your new strength is the strength of one who has been touched by fire but not consumed. The strength of one who has learned to believe when nothing is visible, to love when there is no reason to stand, when there is no foothold. This strength cannot be taken away, for it does not belong to the world. It belongs to heaven. It belongs to me. And I say to you today, you have passed through the fire, but not to be consumed. You have passed through the waters, but not to be swept away. You have endured, but not in vain. For now you carry within you a new form of strength, the kind that makes darkness tremble, yet gives rest to weary souls. Walk forward, my child, for you are not merely saved, you are transformed. My beloved child, when the fire has burned away, the layers of fear, when the smoke clears, when the ashes settle, what remains within you is a new heart, not hardened, not proud, but humble and radiant with light. This has always been my desire from the beginning, a heart that loves as I love, forgives as I forgive, and shows compassion as I stoop down to humanity. That heart is the most precious gift I can give you, for it bears my image. Once you believed the fire would make you callous, that pain would make you close your heart, but I have used the fire not to harden you, but to soften you. I want your heart to feel the suffering of others, to weep with those who weep, to rejoice with those who rejoice, to sense the loneliness of wandering souls. For only those who have been wounded truly know how to heal. Only those who have fallen know how to stoop and lift others up. From the scars upon your heart, I am weaving a symphony of mercy. When a heart is forged in fire, it no longer beats for self, but for a love greater than itself. It no longer craves to be understood, but to be used. It no longer seeks recognition, but opportunities to give. Such a heart does not need applause, for it lives by the light, within the light that comes from me. When I reshape your heart, I do not make it larger, but deeper. Deeper to hold more, to endure longer, to love wider, to forgive easier. Do you know, my child, forgiveness is the final flame of refinement, not the fire of anger, but of release. You cannot step into a new season while carrying the ashes of resentment. Forgiveness does not deny the pain. It hands it over to me so that I may turn it into a blessing. When you forgive, you declare that the pain no longer defines you. You are not the wound. You are the witness of healing. I know there are those who have hurt you deeply, words that made your heart bleed, betrayals that made you close every door. But my child, do not let another's pain become your prison. Let me teach you forgiveness, not by your strength, but by the love I pour into you. When your heart has been refined, you will see that my love is no longer a distant idea, but a living stream flowing through you. You will love not because others deserve it, but because I loved you when you did not. You will learn to be silent instead of judging, patient instead of quick-tempered, gentle instead of rigid. Your love for others will cease to be a reaction. It will become your nature. For when your heart beats in rhythm with mine, love is no longer a burden, it becomes your breath. I do not seek perfect hearts, I seek tender ones. For I can work with weakness but not with walls. When your heart opens, even trembling, I can enter and do wonders. A humble heart can bring life to a nation as I did with Moses. A willing heart can save thousands as I did with Esther. A loving heart can change history as I did through my son on the cross. You may think you are small, but when I dwell in your heart, every limit breaks. Once refined, your heart will understand that strength and gentleness are not opposites. The strongest are those who love most deeply. The steadfast are those who bow in humility. The greatest are those who kneel in prayer. The world calls that weakness, but heaven calls it glory. For in the lowest place I reveal the highest power. In tears I reveal restoration. In silence I reveal splendor. When you kneel to love, I lift you to shine. The heart refined by fire is also a heart that knows gratitude. It no longer blames me for what was lost, but gives thanks for what remains. It no longer demands, but sees miracles in the ordinary. A quiet morning, an embrace, a prayer, a tear, all become treasures. For you understand that every breath is a gift. Where gratitude reigns, complaint finds no home. When thanksgiving becomes your rhythm, miracles become your atmosphere. My child, a heart refined by fire, carries something the world cannot imitate, the light of understanding. You will see others through the eyes of compassion, knowing that each person fights their own flame. You will no longer judge, compare, or despise. Instead, you will intercede, uplift, and give. And I tell you this truth, in the moments you stoop to love, you most resemble me. When you choose mercy over judgment, you bring heaven to earth. To be refined in fire is to be prepared to carry love into the world. I did not let you suffer to make you hard, but to make you soft enough to touch hearts that have turned to stone. You will no longer speak of me as one who observes, but as one who has encountered. You will no longer preach from theory, but from testimony. Every story you tell, every word you speak, every look you give will carry the marks of fire and of love. And when you love as I love, your soul becomes a lamp shining in the night of others. I know, my child, you once thought the end of the fire would be exhaustion, but truly the end of the fire is love. When the fire finishes its work, it leaves not smoke but light. And that light is you, the one who carries within a heart, refined by my hand, sent into the world as a bearer of hope. Do not let bitterness dry it out. Do not let doubt cool it down. Let it beat in rhythm with mine, the rhythm of love, of mercy, of patience. And as you walk through this life, others will feel my presence through you. For a heart refined by fire need not speak much. It need only be present, and all will know that I am there. Remember this: the fire no longer threatens you, for now you carry it within you. Not the fire of destruction, but the fire of light, of love, of life. I have refined you not to make you endure forever, but to make you shine forever. And from this heart I have forged, I will write the next chapter, the chapter of mission, of light, and of glory, my beloved child. There are days when you stand before a wall so high you cannot see the sky. You ask me to move it, yet it remains. You hurl the stone of prayer, and it echoes back in silence. Then you wonder, Lord, are you there? Have you left me alone? My child, listen closely. The wall is not a sign that I have left. It is a test to show you how near I am. I do not raise the wall to block you, but to teach you to climb by faith, not by reason. As long as you can see a path, you still rely on your own strength. But when you face a wall you cannot cross, that is when I begin to do what you cannot. Faith is not born in safety, but in the space between impossible and I will do it. It is in that very space that miracles are born. Have you read of Israel? When they stood before Jericho, its walls were so thick chariots could race along the top. They had no weapons, no ladders, no siege plan, but they had me. And I did not tell them to attack. I told them to walk around the city and be silent, for the victory was mine, not theirs. There are walls that are not broken by force, but by obedience. There are battles won not with weapons, but with faith. As you circle the Jericho of your life, the impossibility you have prayed about for so long without seeing change, I am teaching you that faith's true power lies not in grand gestures, but in small persistence. Each silent step, each choice to trust rather than doubt, strikes at the unseen foundations of that wall. And on the day I appoint, a single trumpet of faith will bring the chains down. My child, faith is not a feeling. It is a decision to stand even when you feel nothing. It is the act of a soul that keeps walking when the eyes see no path. Faith does not demand that I prove myself. It chooses to trust first and see later. That is why I often lead you down roads with no map. Not to confuse you, but to teach you to heed my voice above your fear. At times I keep silent, not because I am far, but because I am building the strength of your trust, like a trainer who steps back so the learner can rise alone. You are not abandoned. You are being formed to believe without evidence. Only those who have stood in the desert and still believed in a river truly understand what faith is. Walls are not your enemy. They are my hands in disguise. When I do not move the wall, I am teaching you to climb it. When I do not open a door, I am teaching you to carve a way by faith. You cannot learn miracles without adversity. You cannot know my power without something greater than your strength. As Joshua learned, so will you when I speak. Do it, even if you do not understand. Miracles stand on the far side of obedience. When I tell you to circle instead of charge, it is not delay, it is heaven's strategy. I use what seems foolish to reveal what is glorious. And as you obey, you will see that every limit is temporary, while my word is eternal. My child, true faith does not only believe that I can, it believes I am good, even when I have not yet acted. It does not rest on outcomes, but on relationships. When you trust me despite everything, you move heaven. When you sing beside towering walls, angels lean in to listen. When you give thanks in adversity, hell trembles. Nothing is stronger than a soul that chooses to believe in the impossible. Faith is not a plant that grows in sunlight, but a tree rooted in dark soil. You cannot see the roots stretching, yet each day they go deeper. Do not mistake my silence for absence. In silence, I am laying the foundation for a miracle. When nothing seems to change outwardly, I am working deepest within, building in you a faith not tied to circumstances, not shaken by upheaval, not toppled by night. There will be moments when I let you stand in battle without immediately hearing my voice. But my silence does not mean inaction. Even when I do not speak, I am moving. Even when you do not see, I am turning all things. As when I parted the Red Sea, I did not raise the wind in an instant. It blew all night quietly, steadily, until dry ground appeared. So in your life I am working through the night, silent, steadfast, and sure. When faith faces the impossible, remember I never ask you to understand, only to believe. Reason stops at the wall. Faith walks through it. I have chosen you for the path of faith, not of ease. You will find that each time you trust without seeing, a stone drops from the wall. Each time you worship with a heavy heart, a slice of sky opens. Each time you say, Lord, I still believe, I step closer to completing what I have promised. Look back at those who went before you. Abraham believed me and left his homeland without knowing where he was going. Moses believed me at the Red Sea with the enemy behind him. David believed me before Goliath with only a small stone. Mary believed me when told she would bear the Son of the Most High, though no one believed her. They shared one thing: they trusted me more than what their eyes could see, and so I used them to change the world. Now I look at you, my child who has passed through fire, learned peace in the storm, and risen from the ashes. Now is the time to face your walls by faith. You are no longer the fragile one you once were. You are forged in light. When you stand before the impossible, remember I have done the impossible. I called light from nothing, life from dust, and brought Jericho down with a trumpet blast. Nothing is impossible for me, and because I am in you, nothing is impossible for you. My beloved child, faith is not complete unless it leads to obedience, for faith truly lives only when it becomes action. A person may say they trust me, but only when they do what I say does heaven tremble. The trumpet of faith does not sound from the mouth, but from an obedient heart. I do not need you to shout to appear brave. I need you to take each step even in silence, for it is in that silence that obedience resounds in heaven. True obedience does not rest on feelings, but on my word. Feelings change, but my words do not. When I say go, go, even if you see no reason. When I say stop, stop, even if your heart is restless. When I say be silent, for some victories come only in stillness. Every small act of obedience carries power to break a wall no logic can break. The world will say obedience is weakness, but in my kingdom obedience is authority. One who obeys me can make the enemy retreat without drawing a sword. Power does not lie in a battle cry, but in complete surrender. My son, who bears the image of God, showed this when he bowed and said, "Not my will, but yours be done." That obedience opened heaven and made hell tremble. You do not need strength to obey. You need trust. Trust that I know what you do not. Trust that my plan, though slow, is perfect. Trust that even when I lead you the long way around, it is still the shortest path to the true destination. Every command I give is a map to a miracle. And if you walk in that direction, you will see doors open that no one else can open. My beloved child, there will be times when obedience makes you look like a fool in the eyes of the world. They will say, "Why don't you do something stronger? Why only pray, only wait, only believe?" But yes, that is your strength. For you do not seek the approval of men, but only the gaze of your Father. It is like Noah building an ark upon dry land. He had never seen rain, yet he obeyed. People mocked, yet he kept hammering every plank. And one day the first drop fell, and all understood that obedience is never in vain. So it is with you. When I speak, act even when no one understands. For miracles are not born of reasonable acts, but of anointed ones. You do not need to prove, only to obey. When you step forward, heaven moves with you. When you say yes, angels rise from their thrones to carry it out. When you are silent in trust, I will speak for you with my power. True obedience is not only doing what I say, but doing it with the right heart. Some obey out of fear, others to gain blessing, but I want you to obey out of love. For when love is the motive, everything you do carries the fragrance of heaven. When you obey not to avoid trouble, but to please me, you will feel heaven's joy settle within your soul. If you love me, keep my commandments. John 1:4, 1:5. That was never a cold command, but an invitation into intimacy. Obedience is the language of love. Every time you say, "Yes, Lord," you are saying, "I trust you more than I trust myself." Let your heart be tuned to heaven's rhythm. Learn that each trumpet I sound is not only a call to battle, but an invitation to move in harmony with my will. When you hear the trumpet and act, you are walking in step with heaven's song. That trumpet does not always blare. Sometimes it is only a whisper deep within your spirit. Yet those who listen will recognize it, and when they move, the world shifts. I am teaching you the art of slow, steadfast obedience. Like Israel, circling the city each day, not fast, not frantic, not fearful. For victory does not come from speed, but from perseverance in faith. On the first day, the wall still stood. On the second, it looked the same. By the fifth, they were weary, doubtful, discouraged. But they kept walking. And on the seventh day, when the trumpet sounded, I shook the ground beneath them. Do you see? The miracle did not come at the first step, but at the final one of persistence. Do not give up midway. Do not stop walking before your seventh day arrives. Do not stop blowing the trumpet while the promise is still unfolding. Every circuit, every step, every moment you choose to believe, each is gathering invisible power for the hour when the wall will fall. And when it does, it will not only open a way for you, but for those who will walk after you. The obedience of one can open the gates of freedom for many. Now is the time I call you to walk in worshipful obedience. Do not see it as a duty, see it as a melody of love. Every act done for me is a note in heaven's song. And when that song is complete, I will make the whole earth hear the trumpet of victory, not your trumpet, but mine sounding through you. Therefore do not fear if I call you to small things, quiet paths, or unnoticed acts. That is where miracles are born. A word of apology, a hug, an intercessory prayer, a faithful act, all are trumpets I use to bring down unseen walls in human hearts. When you obey, you do not merely step into your own victory, you bring heaven closer to earth. For I act through obedience. When you say yes, you give me permission to move. When you say I believe, you open the gate for my power to flow. When you walk, I shake the ground beneath your feet to show that nothing can stop the one who walks in rhythm with my call. And when the wall falls, remember, what brought it down was not the shout, but the trust. Not human strength, but my power. Not the moment you felt strong, but the moment you chose to obey in weakness. My trumpet is sounding in your life. Do not fear, do not rush. Walk, believe, and act. Every step is a song of glory. Every completed circle is a heartbeat of heaven. And in the appointed time I will bring the wall down, not by your might, but by my name, my beloved child. There are battles you are not called to win, but to surrender. Not every battle requires a sword or strength of arm. Some are opened only to teach you surrender, trust, and release to let me act. There are moments when I call you to step forward and fight, but there are also times I call you to stand still and watch my glory revealed. Do not mistake stillness for weakness. For stillness in faith is the roar of heaven, the sound that makes darkness tremble. When you have done all you can, when prayer has worn your voice thin, when strength has ebbed away and no answer has come, this is not failure. It is the threshold where I begin to move. At the end of human strength, the power of God is unveiled. I do not ask you to prove your worth or display your might. I ask you to lay down your sword. For only when you lay it down can I take it up. When you stop striving to control, stop fearing to lose, stop plotting your own way, then I step in, and what I do surpasses all understanding. When you whisper, "Lord, I can't anymore," that is when I smile and say, "Then watch what I will do." My child, this battle was never yours. It was not yours yesterday, nor is it today, and it will never be tomorrow. From the beginning, it has always been mine. I have only granted you the honor of standing in the ranks to witness the triumph of my glory. You are called not to fight by your own strength, but to behold my power at work. There are battles you think you are losing, but in truth I am rearranging what your eyes cannot yet see, confounding the enemy's schemes, shaking the foundations, opening paths only faith can discern. My beloved child, remember Jehoshaphat, the king who trembled when an army vast as the sea marched against him, when every strategy failed, when every resource was spent, when he had nothing left but a heart that knew where to turn. He humbled himself and called upon me, and I said, "The battle is not yours, but God's." So instead of sending soldiers, he sent singers. They carried no swords, only songs of praise. That simple melody, born of faith, not fear, rose over the battlefield, and in that very moment the enemy turned upon itself. The war ended before a single arrow was lost. That is how I act, my child. When you let me fight, I move in ways no one can predict. I make the enemy's schemes a trap for itself. I turn evil into a doorway for good to blossom. I take the weakest places in you and make them the stage upon which my power is revealed. You have held the sword too long, worn down by the struggle to hold everything together, fighting more from fear than from faith, using calculation instead of quiet trust. But my child, I do not need you strong. I need you true. I need you to bow, to lay down your sword, and to say, "Lord, I give this battle back to you, for I have never lost, not once, not ever. No power can stand against me. And when you are in me, my victory becomes yours." Letting go is not defeat, my child. It is choosing the right side. When you cling, you fight alone. When you surrender, all of heaven fights with you. In my kingdom, surrender does not lead to loss, but to freedom. I do not ask you to wield a sword. I ask you to lift your hands in worship, for raised hands, in praise, are stronger than clenched fists in fear. Remember Moses. When Israel fought Amalek, as long as his hands were raised, they prevailed. When his hands dropped, they faltered. Because true power is not in the weapon, but in the posture of surrender. When he lifted his hands, he was saying with his very body, "We cannot, unless you do." And I answered with my power. So it is with you when you lift your eyes, instead of bowing in despair, when you choose worship over complaint, when you choose trust over doubt, you place the battle into my hands. And when the battle is mine, the outcome can only be victory, for I do not know defeat. I know there are moments when you want to act, to speak for yourself, to defend, to prove, but when you let me speak on your behalf, my words pierce where no argument can reach. I know the timing to speak, the way to break chains without breaking hearts, the path to confront evil with truth without spilling blood. You need not win with your voice, you win with anointed silence. That silence is not passivity. It is faith at its deepest form, the kind of faith that knows I am moving even when not a sound is heard. When you pray, I am arranging. When you worship, I am fighting. When you forgive, I am opening the way. When you are silent, I am speaking. When you are weak, I am strong. This battle no longer belongs to you, it is mine. And when I rise, no force can stand. You may not yet see the wall fall, but I have already touched its foundations. You may not yet see the door open, but the key has already turned. You may not yet hear my voice, but my word has already gone forth, and my word never returns void. You need only one thing: do not fear. For I have spoken, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, help you, and uphold you with my righteous right hand. That word still resounds, and I have never broken a promise. When I fight, I do not only conquer your external enemies, I heal what is wounded within you. For true victory is not merely when the wall collapses, but when your heart is restored. I do not only want you to see the miracle, I want you to trust me through it. The victory I desire is not just in outcome, but in transformation, where you learn that it is not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. And the day will come when you look back and realize every battle I allowed had a holy purpose, not to destroy you, but to shape you, not to take from you, but to reveal my glory, not to make you fearful, but to teach you how to stand firm in me. Then you will smile in the light, for you will know that every battle of mine ends in victory, not a victory you achieve, but one I display through you. So rest now, take a deep breath. Lay down your sword and let your hands be empty, that I may fill them. For I am not only the God of peace, I am the God of war. I have never lost, never failed, and never will. If you stand on my side, you have already won, even while the battle still rages. Therefore I say to you today, stand firm. Do not fear or be dismayed, for today you will see the deliverance of the Lord your God. You will not need to fight in this battle. Only stand still and see what I will do. Let me do what only I can do, for I am the one who never loses. And when I fight for you, victory is settled before the battle even begins. My beloved child, every seed I have sown in you has its appointed time. Not one is forgotten. No tear you have shed is wasted, no prayer lost to the wind. For in my hands everything you sow in faith, in love, in loyalty, even in pain, is remembered and nourished in silence. There are seasons when the ground seems barren, when prayer feels unanswered, when I seem silent, but my child, I have never been silent. I am working beneath the soil quietly, deeply, preparing the moment when your seed will break open and rise into the light of grace. Every act of steadfast faith, every hidden choice of loyalty, every time you loved while still wounded, all of it, I am turning into fruit of light. Now you are entering the season I promised from the beginning, the harvest of light, where the things long buried begin to sprout and bloom in glory. Here is your passage, faithfully rendered into English, lyrical, reverent, and resonant, with the same sacred depth and emotional continuity as your original. My beloved child, do you remember the days when I told you to sow even while the ground was dry, to pray, even when no sign appeared, to believe, even when everything seemed against you? In those days you pressed each seed of faith into barren soil, your hands trembling, your heart uncertain, your eyes lifted toward heaven, seeing nothing but emptiness. You thought I had abandoned you, that I was silent, that nothing was changing. But my child, just as a grain of wheat must die before it bears fruit, so too must your faith pass through the hidden season. For if it were never buried, it would never rise. In the darkness, in the silence, in places no light can reach, I was still working deeply and quietly, causing the roots of your faith to grow strong, nurturing what your eyes could not yet see. And now that season is coming. The sun of grace is rising over your field, and the things you thought were dead are beginning to live again. True faith never dies in the night. It is only planted so it may live again with greater strength. Each time you chose trust over fear, you sowed a seed. Each time you chose forgiveness over retaliation, you watered the ground. Each time you chose to love while wounded, you deepened the roots of your faith in the soil of grace. And now I am calling every seed to rise. I am calling the things you once thought lost to live again in the light of resurrection. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. That is not merely comfort, it is the divine law of my kingdom. No tear falls that the earth does not receive, no sigh ascends that heaven does not hear. I have gathered every tear you cried, and turned them into oil for the lamp of harvest, and now the light of that lamp burns brightly upon you. I have seen your sleepless nights. I have heard your broken prayers when no words remained. I have watched you choose silence over reaction, love over bitterness, faith over surrender. Each of those choices, small as they seemed, has been counted and kept. Each time you endured without resentment, I planted another seed of light within you. Each time you chose humility amidst humiliation, I poured oil of joy upon your soul. And now, as the dawn rises, you will see that it was those old tears that watered the radiant harvest now blooming before you. Harvest is not merely a reward for faithfulness, it is a testimony of my faithfulness. I do not promise to forget nor sow my word only to abandon it. Every word I have spoken carries its appointed season, every promise its time, and the set time always comes. I promised Abraham, and he waited a lifetime. I promised Joseph in the prison, and raised him to the palace. I promised Job in the ashes, and restored him twice over. And I am doing the same with you. My promise never fails. The path to it is simply longer than you imagined. I love you too much to give you an unripe harvest, for fruit gathered too soon will be bitter, and blessings that arrive before their time become burdens. I wait until your faith is mature, until your heart is deep enough to carry blessing without pride, until your spirit is still enough to bear light without being blinded. My child, this harvest is unlike any before, for it is not just a recompense, it is a revelation. You are not only reaping what you have sown, you are reaping who you have become through the sowing. You sowed faith, and I am giving you understanding. You sowed loyalty, and I am giving you wisdom. You sowed tears, and I am giving you joy. Every harvest is a mirror of the soul's growth, and now your field shines in glory, for you have become the very light you once prayed for. This harvest is not for you alone, it is for many others. The one who sowed in loneliness will become the one who nourishes a generation. The one who endured drought will become a spring for thirsty souls. The one who once fell will become a living testimony of my mercy. The seed you thought was only your private story is part of the redemptive plan I am writing for many lives. Therefore, when you reap, open your hands. The harvest is not meant for storing, but for sharing. I do not bless you to keep. I bless you to pour out. And as you give, your field will not run dry. It will widen and bloom anew. For I am the God of flow, not of hoarding. The sky is brightening, the wind is shifting, and dawn's gold is spreading across your field. This is no longer the season of trial, but the season of fulfillment. The fire has gone out, the storm has stilled, the wall has fallen, and from the ashes of loss, life is rising. I am restoring the years you thought were wasted. I am reclaiming what the enemy stole. I am giving double joy for every tear you have shed. Rejoice not merely because you see the outcome, but because you see me within it. For I myself am your harvest, the light rising over the field of your soul, the breath awakening the buried seed, the joy resounding in your song. Sing, my child, in the field, glowing with morning light. Praise, for I have fulfilled what I promised. Dance, for the small seed once trembling in your hand has become a garden of grace. And remember, harvest is not the end, but the beginning of another season of sowing. A season of sowing, born of wisdom, of maturity, of the light now alive within you. You have sown in tears, and now reap in song. You have passed through fire, and now shine like gold. You have stood in storms, and now carry the fragrance of morning after rain. Hold this joy as a testimony that the Lord your God never lets a seed of faith die in the soil. He only buries it so that it may rise stronger, brighter, and eternal. Here is your passage rendered into English with complete reverence, lyrical precision, and the full emotional depth of your original, preserving its sacred rhythm, imagery, and tenderness. My beloved child, the harvest does not only bring forth visible fruit, it also awakens a deeper spring within you, the gentle restoration of things once thought lost, peace buried beneath layers of anxiety, faith cracked by disappointments, innocence that once gleamed but faded with the years, and the inner light that seemed to flicker out through long sleepless nights. I have not come to paint a new color over an old wall, but to fulfill my promise of rebuilding with the soft breath of my spirit, so that from cracked bricks will rise a house whose fragile foundation is now reinforced by mercy, a dwelling where every room carries the fragrance of peace and every window opens toward the dawn. I know you have walked through days when you thought you would never be whole again, when memories refused to sleep, when wounds you believed healed throbbed at the sound of a voice, a glance, a dream, passing like wind, yet stirring a storm within. You thought I had forgotten you in those hours, but I never did. I saw every fracture in your soul, and I did not despise them. On the contrary, I saw those very cracks as openings through which grace could seep in like rain, sinking into parched earth, like sunlight, filtering through the thinnest veil, until the shadows themselves, instead of becoming caverns for sorrow, turned into vaulted ceilings for a secret garden to grow. I do not restore by erasing your past, for erasure leaves a void, and the void will only echo the name of fear. I restore by transforming the past into the foundation of what is new, like a potter who does not discard the shards, but gathers them, wipes off the dust, sets them on the wheel, pours the gold of mercy into the cracks, and reshapes them into a Dulin vessel that keeps its history, yet carries new beauty. You will no longer be the one who trembled before the night, nor will you become a stranger to yourself. You will be the healed version, deeper in understanding, gentler in love, clearer in how you reflect my light. There is a kind of healing that does not come from forgetting, but from enlightened remembrance. When you look back on nights of weeping and realize I was sitting there, my hand on your shoulder, until your breath calmed. When you recall delayed prayers and understand that delay was not denial but preparation. When you face relationships that broke apart and see that behind the breaking lay a path leading you toward a maturity you could not have reached if everything had gone smoothly. Those moments when you cried, "Lord, where are you?" were the times I was nearer than the space between a heartbeat and a tear, waiting only for the pain to subside, so I could whisper, "I am here," like a quiet song closing the rain. The restoration I bring does not stop at soothing, for soothing alone allows the pain to return one day. I come not only to comfort but to recreate, not only to bandage the surface but to renew the heart, not only to touch the wound and withdraw, but to transform the very place of pain into a spring of life. Like a stream threading softly through rock, my healing seeps into the deepest layers of weariness, where words cannot reach, where reason stands still, and from there, what once was memory of brokenness becomes a clear channel through which grace flows. The darkest places become the brightest, for light is seen most clearly in the dark. Remember Job, the man who lost everything a human life can lose, his loved ones, his possessions, his health, and even the comfort of his friends. Yet what he received back was not only double in the outward sense, but infinitely multiplied within. He said, "Before my ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." That is the true purpose of restoration, not merely to return what was lost, but to lead you into deeper knowing, truer love, absolute trust. There are things you thought I took away forever, but in truth I have only kept them in the storehouse of grace to return when you are ready to hold them without losing yourself. I do not take to punish, I take to purify. I do not delay to weary you, I delay to prepare you for something greater. And when you have passed through the furnace, when the ashes fall from your shoulders, when your heart softens like soil after rain, I breathe new life into you. Hope stirs in every cell again, and peace is rewoven with threads of eternity. So open your heart to this wind of restoration. It will not roar, it will not tear the roof away. It will come like the first breath after the storm, a breath that makes the silent room glow. Let me touch the drawers you still keep locked, the fears you have not named, the shame you thought must be hidden until forgotten. I do not expose to shame you, I illuminate to free you. For my purpose is not merely to forgive you, but to bring you into freedom, where the chains of haunting break and the doors of relief swing wide. People say, time heals, but time only dulls the edges. I make the cut beautiful. Time may bury memories. I turn memories into gratitude. Time pulls the wound closed. I line the scar with gold, so that grace may flow through it. I am making all things new like spring arriving on brittle branches, sap rising until buds burst open, like sunlight slowly drawing back the mist to reveal the field beneath. Heaviness gives way to ease, fear yields to peace, closed hearts open to courage. You will love again, not with a cautious heart, but one tempered in the fire of love. You will believe again, not with naive simplicity, but with deep, steady strength. The time of healing has come. The field of your soul, once cracked by drought, is now soaked by rain of grace. Flowers of joy are blooming along the path once watered by tears. You will look upon the place that made you weep and smile softly, for you will see my fingerprints in every detail. I waited, I counted, I tended, I nurtured, I rearranged, I prepared, and now I draw the curtain for dawn. I restore you not to leave you resting in comfort, but to send you forth as a gentle physician of souls. Those who have been wounded and healed know how to bandage without causing more pain. Those who have wept and been comforted know how to touch another's tears. Those who have fallen and been lifted know how to reach out just in time for one who stumbles. You are not healed to remain silent. You are healed to become a living testimony of my power. I will place on your lips words of comfort, in your hands tenderness, and in your eyes the long light of hope. You will not need to preach your journey. Your peace will speak for you, and people will look at you and say, "This one has walked through the storm but is no longer the same," and you will smile not with pride but with gratitude, knowing that only the Lord your God could have done this. So, my child, do not fear the scars, for scars are proof of victory. They do not mar you. They make you real like golden seams on a vessel telling the story that grace is stronger than the blade of pain. Now is the season when I rewrite your story not in the ink of sorrow but in the light of mercy. The chapters once stained with disappointment will be replaced by ones bursting with joy. The pages that seemed closed will open again with a quiet yet steady line. But God, and right where you place the period, I will place a comma for a new beginning. Breathe deeply, for the air is different now. The scent of ashes has faded, giving way to the fragrance of new life. The field of your soul is radiant once more, and no darkness is deep enough to conceal my light, no wound too heavy to keep my grace from flowing in. You were once broken, but now you stand. Once you wept, but now you sing. Once you feared, but now you believe. And I look upon you with a joy beyond words, for you are not merely one who has been saved, you are one who has been restored. A garden that has survived the winter and now flourishes in green, a lamp once extinguished, but now burning steady, and warm a song once fractured, but now whole and resounding far. My beloved child, light never disappears. It only lies still like a coal under ashes, waiting for a pure breath to ignite it again. Through all those years when you thought yourself lost beneath layers of shadow, that flame never went out. It simply waited patient for my arrival, for the breath of eternity to awaken it. And now I press the lips of life to your soul, so that the light within you rises again, no longer flickering with fear, but steady with faith, no longer dimmed by pain, but clear with healing, no longer fragile with beginnings, but radiant with maturity. You are no longer defined by your failures, nor confined by your scars, for you have been clothed with the identity of one who carries fire. That fire does not come from the striving of human will, but from my spirit dwelling within you. It burns not to display itself, but to guide your steps toward the right path. It does not consume what is good, but warms what has grown cold. It does not demand that you force yourself to shine, but teaches you to remain in the source of light so that shining becomes natural. Therefore you are set upon a lampstand to give light not hidden beneath the bed for safety. For the world needs light that has passed through fire, refined in silence, proven by nights that learned how to wait. I let you walk through darkness not to extinguish your light, but to teach you its worth when the dawn arrives. The one who has never known the night cannot understand why even a small flame makes the eyes sting. The one who has never fallen cannot fathom the depth of my mercy. The one who has never wept cannot taste the sweetness of the Spirit's comfort. That is why I use the night as a quiet classroom to teach you how to shine, not by avoiding the dark, but by standing firm, to teach you to keep your lamp, not by noise and display, but by guarding the secret jar of oil, to show you that true light is not born of ease, but forged in the furnace of covenant. True light does not appear because you push the darkness away. It comes when you open the door to my presence. You have trembled, feared, doubted, and seen yourself as a cracked vessel. But look now, you shine not because you became flawless, but because you allowed me to shine through your cracks. My light does not need a smooth wall to reflect from. It needs a soul willing to open. And the very places where you once broke are the windows through which the brightest beams pass. The very ground that once lay in ruins is where my glory now stands clear, for there nothing of you remains to resist, only transparent channels for grace to flow. From this day on, you are not only one who has been saved, you are a living lamp. Every word you speak, every act you choose, every response you give can spread that light like fragrance carried on the wind. When you forgive, you shine. When you love, you shine. When you hold peace in the middle of a storm, you shine. When you believe against the impossible, you shine. And when you rise again after your hardest fall, the light flares brighter than dawn, soaked in the oil of endurance. Do not despise your small light. To drive out darkness from a room, one true flame is enough. People do not need to see you. They only need to recognize my light in you. And when you live in that light, the world begins to change quietly, yet unmistakably. My word still burns in the wind. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. That word is for you today, not as a burden, but as a holy honor, the calling to be a beam of heaven's light in a valley still covered in shadow. And remember, when light rises within, it not only shines outward, it burns away what is dark within. Fear is consumed, doubt dissolves, the corners where you once hid are illuminated and freed. This fire does not destroy, it purifies. It makes it impossible for you to live as before, to stay silent at the sight of wrong, to compromise when shadows creep in. For once the true lamp is lit, it refuses to retreat before any night. This light is not for you alone. It is given that you may pass it on. I do not light a candle for a closed room. I light it so that from your flame others may be kindled. So let those you meet glimpse that light in eyes that listen, in words that do not condemn, in love that asks for no return. For light does not need to argue. It only needs to be. Around you are souls still walking through the long night. They do not need another sermon. They need a true flame. And you are that flame, for you have known the night and learned to tread softly within it. You have been wounded and now know how to touch without hurting. You have waited and can now say with certainty, the dawn will come. The light within you is not the lamp of argument, but the lamp of faith proven and grace tasted. And you will discover a gentle law light never runs out. The more you share it, the fuller it grows. The more you shine, the brighter it burns. The longer you walk in it, the more glory clothes you. I have not called you merely to be saved, but to shine like a star in the heavens, not to draw attention to yourself, but so that every gaze upon you may lift beyond you to me. Therefore keep the flame with humility and with a quiet life of prayer, for lamps burn long only when fueled by the oil of my presence. Come near me each day, not only to ask, but to abide, for in abiding your lamp will not go out. I will pour in more oil, more strength, more peace, more glory. And if ever you feel your flame grow dim, do not fear, return to me, for I am the light that never fades. One morning you will look around and realize that the world itself looks different, not because the darkness vanished all at once, but because many lamps have been lit from the light within you. That is the miracle of the kingdom, where one surrendered flame can ignite a generation. And I say to you, in joy you have passed through the night and been healed. Now rise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Step forth no longer in fear, but in glory. Look back on your past, not with pain, but with gratitude. Do not shrink from your own light, for it is not yours, it is mine within you. And as you walk, I will make that light reach farther than you could imagine, touching souls who sit in shadow, waiting to be lit. Here is your passage rendered into English, faithful, reverent, and lyrically aligned with your original voice. My beloved child, I rejoice to see the flame within you blaze again, for it is the sign that the harvest is complete and a new chapter is opening. No more ashes, only dawn. No more night, only glory. No more tightness of breath, only deep peace. You have become the lamp I have chosen, forged in fire, watered by tears, lit by my breath and sent by my hand. Now live as the light you were made to be. Shine not because you must, but because you cannot do otherwise, for the light within you has risen and will keep rising. My beloved child, every battle comes to an end, but not every ending is a loss. With me, an ending is not a full stop. It is the meeting point of tears and glory, where what you thought had withered breaks into bloom, where the ashes of trial become the foundation for a radiant victory. When the battle closes, earth and heaven meet, and your soul is drawn into the breath of eternity, where there is no clashing of swords, only the song of those who passed through fire and kept the lamp of faith from going out. You have traveled far. There were days you thought you could not take one more step, when your knees shook, your heart was tired, and prayer was only a sigh lost in the night. Yet every fragile step, every groan, every last breath of faith has been inscribed by me into the fields of eternity. Not a drop of your sweat fell unseen, not a single tear escaped the golden vial of my mercy. And now, my child, those drops are poured back as rain of blessing upon the field you sowed in tears, so it may bloom with songs of praise. The battle is over, but its scars do not make you weaker, they make you brighter. Every wound I have touched becomes a place where light shines. Every fall from which I lifted you is a new chapter of faith written in the ink of my faithfulness. You are no longer one who merely survives. You are a victor in me. For in my kingdom, victory is not defined by the enemy's fall, but by the keeping of faith when darkness presses in. I remember every prayer you whispered, every feeble breath that still called my name, every night of silence in which your heart still murmured, I trust you. Those hushed words stirred heaven itself. And now I come to tell you, your battle is accomplished, and my glory rests upon you. Look around. My child, no more dust of the battlefield, no more roar of the flames, only the gentle light of holy dawn. Angels are singing, and I, the one who made you, am smiling, for you have walked the path I appointed, not by your own strength, but by my unfailing love. You have learned what the saints of old learned, that true victory is not avoiding the fire, but singing within it. Not that you never feared, but that you trusted me in your fear. Not that you never bled, but that you let your blood become a testimony of love. And now your reward is not a crown of gold, but a crown of light set upon you by my own hand. Not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. Not because you were strong, but because you did not give up. Not because you never fell, but because each time you fell, you rose and went on until your faith grew diamond hard, and your heart beat in time with mine. Look back, my child. The wall that blocked your way has blown to dust, and the wind of grace carries it afar. The field that once lay barren now bursts with color, and your song runs like a new stream through the morning of creation. Everything has changed, not only the world around you, but the person within you. You are no longer a seed, you are an ancient tree. You are no longer merely one who was tried, you are a witness of glory. And I who walked beside you through every storm now stand before you with shining eyes and say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your Lord." Do you hear it, my child? That is the sound of a victory not won by swords, but by faith kept to the end. It is not as loud as thunder, it is as gentle as the Spirit's breath. Yet it shakes heaven, for one faithful soul is worth more than 1,000 songs. Rest now in my arms. There is no more battle, no more doubt, no more fear. You have finished the race, and you stand now in unfading glory, not the world's passing glory, but the eternal glory of union with me. This glory is not in applause, but in deepest peace, not on a throne, but in my nearness, not in achievements, but in perfected love. You will not search for me far away, for I am the breath within you. Every heartbeat will sing. You are here, and every step will keep time with heaven on earth. Know this, everything you lost in battle, I will repay in glory. I will restore the joy that was stolen, redeem the years you thought were wasted, and repay not only double but overflowing in peace, in grace, in holy contentment. In my kingdom, no pain is ever wasted. When you see this, you will understand, this is not merely your victory, it is mine in you. As David felled Goliath not to magnify himself but to exalt my name, as Joshua took Jericho not for private glory, but that the nations might know I am God. So now your victory is for the world to see me through your life. This is the goal of every battle, when my will and your heart become one. When your breath moves with mine, when your deeds flow not from fear but from love, when you no longer plead only for protection, but yearn simply to remain close to me forever. Triumph does not lie in the blare of trumpets, but in the stillness of a soul that knows I have won not once but forever, not because suffering was avoided, but because you passed through it and kept your love. Lift your eyes and you will see the gates of morning opened wide, glory flooding every space, and my voice resounding, "Enter, O overcomer, enter the place where there are no tears, no shadows, no fear." This is the glory prepared for you before the foundation of the world. The battle has ended, but glory has only begun. In my kingdom, your ending is my beginning, and today's triumphal hymn is only the first echo of the eternal song, the song of unfailing love, the song of the soul come home, the song of victory in the light. My beloved child, when the battle has stilled and the trumpet is silent, when the tears are wiped from your cheeks, another door opens from the depths. It does not open to some far horizon or lofty cloud, but in the very place of your heart where I have dwelt from the beginning. For heaven is not merely a place to be reached at last. Heaven is a reality revealed in the one united with me, the warmth of my presence soaking through every fiber of the soul, the steady rhythm of peace pulsing through days that seem ordinary but are in truth holy, the gentle light covering each path you walk, so you know that triumph is not only escaping pain, but becoming a dwelling place of the kingdom. It is where everything you do, every word you speak, every breath you take gleams with a new hue, because your soul has found its harbor in me, and in that very moment heaven has begun. You have prayed, your kingdom come, your will be done, and today I say to you, it has come by the way of peace, not thunder, like the hush of a lake after rain, not the clamor of the market. It comes in each moment you abide and become aware of me, in the smallest things, in the place you sit and work, in the way you love and forgive, in the listening and the giving of thanks. Every grateful breath, every gentle word, every act moved by mercy opens another window of sky within you. My kingdom has been sown like a mustard seed, small and humble yet full of power, hidden in the soil of your years of testing, watered by tears, warmed by the fire of pain, until suddenly it breaks the surface, grows and spreads beyond all restraint. For this kingdom does not come by human strength or might, but by my Spirit. You have heard it. Not by power nor by might, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts. And it is my Spirit who now rises in you like spring sap, pushing the bud to break its shell. Therefore, my child, you are no longer one who stands outside waiting for heaven like a stranger, gazing through a window. You carry heaven within you, like one walking through the night with a lamp in hand. Every time you forgive, the veil between earth and heaven grows thinner. Every time you choose love over resentment, another window opens. Every time you choose silence to hear my voice instead of your restless heart, the gate of the kingdom widens. Heaven is not built of gold and jewels. It is built of souls that have learned to love, as I love, by the gentle light of humility and the hidden fragrance of kindness. And my child, my kingdom does not come like the kingdoms of this world. Men seek thrones, but I lead you to the cross. They hunger for power, but I bring you meekness. They seek strength to conquer, but I reveal love that transforms. Therefore, as a bearer of my light, you are called to live as I lived, not to rule but to serve, not to triumph but to give, not to prove yourself but to shine. Wherever there is true humility and unfeigned love, there the kingdom is revealed, like the fragrance of a secret garden carried across the fields. Let me expand that kingdom through you, not by loud voices, but by the holiness of small presence. For sometimes a gentle hand resting on another's shoulder opens the sky above their soul. When you lift your eyes to heaven and whisper gratitude, heaven opens. When you endure pain yet remain at peace, heaven opens. When you walk with feet washed in faith and endurance, heaven follows each step. And when you love, my child, I tell you at that very moment heaven spreads, for love is the language of the kingdom, the breath of the higher realm, the seed of eternal life. I have said, and my word is a living mystery, not a metaphor, the kingdom of God is within you. This means you carry in your fragile frame a space of eternity. You are a living temple, an altar where the fire never goes out, a fragment of heaven chosen for my dwelling. Each time your soul finds rest in me, all of heaven rejoices, for another temple has been lit upon the earth, another gate for grace to flow into the world. Do not wait for glory as a prize at the end of the road, for glory begins the moment you surrender, the moment you say, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. That instant the gates of the kingdom swing open. When you say, I forgive, heaven trembles. When you say, I still believe, though your eyes see nothing, the borders of the kingdom advance. When you whisper, I love you, through tears still wet, the whole sky flares like a new dawn. And now I teach you to live as one of the kingdom, not by dry commandments, but by a soul transformed at its roots. A citizen of the kingdom lives not by fear, but by faith, speaks not with bitterness, but with grace, seeks not revenge, but healing, walks not to possess, but to give. For in my kingdom, whoever humbles himself shall be lifted, whoever gives shall receive abundantly. Whoever dares to die to self shall live in the glory of freedom. When heaven unfolds within you, you will see all things around you transfigured, not because the world itself has changed, but because your eyes have been washed to see me in every small motion, in a child's laughter in sunlight through leaves, in a drop of rain, resting on the grass, in a bird's song at dawn. Every small thing becomes sacred, for a soul carrying heaven turns every place it stands into holy ground. You will cease to seek me as one afar, for I am in you and you are in me. This is the great mystery the world cannot grasp. My kingdom is not only to come, it is already here, unfolding, blooming through those who yield to love. When you live in that love, you do not merely touch heaven, you become part of it. Then every word, every act, every breath will become praise. The line between life and worship will disappear, for every moment will be worship, even when you cook a meal, finish your work, walk a crowded street, or hold the trembling hand of another. All of it will be your way of creating, sustaining, and healing the world with me. That is the kingdom revealed when you and I move as one gentle current flowing through the dust of ordinary days. Let heaven flow from you like fragrance on the wind. Do not hoard it for fear of running dry, for heaven does not diminish. When shared, it only grows fuller. Walk in peace, for wherever you step, the kingdom is sown. Speak words of kindness, for every word is a seed of light. Look upon others with eyes of love, for sometimes one look is enough to awaken the sleeping sky within them. And one morning, you will look around and realize, amid the noise, the pain, and the ruins, the world has begun to change. Not because I made a new world apart from this one, but because I am renewing the old world through souls that carry heaven in their hearts. And you are one of them. Child, the kingdom has come, no longer a promise hung in the heights, but a living reality breathing within you. A pulse of peace that no one can steal, for it does not rise from outside circumstances, but from my own presence within you. And when you live in that kingdom, earth and heaven today, and eternity, the visible and the unseen all meet in one luminous stillness where I make all things one. My beloved, now when all trumpets have quieted and the tears have dried, when the last storm has withdrawn beyond the horizon, there remains only the crystalline stillness, like the first morning of creation. And in that stillness, you and I are one. No longer I am with you as two shapes standing side by side, but I am in you, and you are in me, as breath and heartbeat, inseparable. No more boundary between the Savior and the saved, between the lover and the beloved, only an endless ocean of love, eternal, indivisible, without shore, without wall, without any name, except presence itself, vast, tender, and pure. You have completed the journey from the childlike days of faith, through the long nights of doubt, through the battlefields of belief tested by fire, through the forge of pain and tearful surrender. And now you stand upon the threshold called home. Yet the home of the soul is not set on any meridian or beneath any roof. The home of the soul is union with the one who birthed you in love and has held you in his arms from the beginning. My beloved, I know, my child, how deeply you have longed for me through those rugged stretches of the road. Every prayer you whispered, though your voice trembled and your breath was thin, was a step closer toward the light. Every tear that fell I counted. Every throb of your heart I heard. And now when you lift your gaze, not with weary human eyes, but with vision refined by fire, you will see the truth you had forgotten. I was never far. I am the pulse that has beat within your chest since before you could name your longing. I am the warmth that wrapped you through the winters of trial. I am the faintest flicker at the end of the valley, keeping you from losing your way. You and I were never two wanderers seeking one another. We have always belonged together before the world began. Only the shadows of fear and the mist of forgetfulness made you think distance existed. But love cannot leave itself, and your soul, born of my breath, still carries within it the quiet rhythm of eternity, like a river hidden under stone, yet always flowing to the sea. When all that is earthly dissolves like morning mist beneath the sun, you will see that I am not merely the God who reigns from unreachable heights, not just a name resounding through golden halls and silver trumpets, but the living stream, flowing through you, the breath you draw each morning, the heartbeat within your chest each evening, the light overflowing from your eyes. When you look upon the world with mercy, the silent urge that moves you to love beyond reason. And when you see me this way, you will no longer pray for my presence as one awaiting a guest to knock, for every moment you live is proof that I am there. You will cease straining to find me in distant skies, for the temple I inhabit is your very soul. You will stop pleading, "Come, Lord," for that request implies an absence that has never been. You need only be still, like one who lays a hand upon the lake and feels the water moving, and you will sense me spreading through every cell like warmth, filling the air like light, whispering like wind through the hidden garden of your time, heart. This is the union that nations have longed for, that saints have yearned toward, that angels have sung about, the union of love without boundary. For I am in you, and you begin to see the world through my eyes, no longer seeing sinners as targets for judgment, but as souls fumbling their way home. No longer seeing enemies as adversaries, but as wounded hearts waiting to be touched. No longer seeing loss as an ending, but as the secret preparation for something better. And when you love as I love, heaven expands from within you, unbound by space or time, for the only border that remains is the border of your willingness. This union is not a dissolving that erases, but a merging that completes. You do not lose yourself, you find yourself in me. You do not vanish into nothing, you become whole. And in that wholeness your soul sings the song of heaven, a song beyond words, for words are too small. Only light and rhythm remain, a single, eternal current flowing like waves. Then you will understand why I let you pass through fire and night and storm, not to destroy you, but to burn away each layer of fear, each chain of ego, each veil of guilt, so that nothing stands between us. And when you stand in this light, the ideas of before and after, near and far, beginning and end, become meaningless. For there remains only the eternal now, where you and I exist in a love that never ceases. That love is both the source and the completion, the first voice fading into silence, and the last echo resting in peace, the breath that calls all things into being, and the breath that keeps them from falling into nothingness. Then you will see heaven is not a prize to be granted. After the reckoning, it is presence itself. It is not a place I give you to dwell, but the awareness of me, until that awareness becomes the very air you breathe. And when you know me like this, you become a flame of love that never dies, no longer thirsty, no longer hungry, no longer afraid, only filled with an unnameable fullness, for every name is too brief for what you now taste. And I speak to you not in words, but in light overflowing that you need. Seek me no more, for you are in me, and I am in you. All that I have is yours, and all that you are has always been within my heart. You will understand that I was never distant, never angry, never demanding. I have only waited for the door to open from within you, that you might see love needs no condition, no proof, no attainment. It only needs to be received. And when you receive it, the separate you and the far away I dissolve into we, one endless breath. From now on, you will no longer ask for light, as one standing outside a room, for you are light, because I dwell within you. You will no longer beg for peace, as one awaiting a guest, for you are peace, because you abide in me. You will no longer plead for love as one asking for bread, for you are the very expression of my love on the earth. You need not say, "To you be the glory," as though it were elsewhere, for my glory is living in you, moving in your words, shining through your deeds, resting in your presence. You have become the seal of union, a mystery written in breath, that God and humanity may become one in love. And as you walk among men, this light will not fade with circumstance. It will not falter amid noise or silence, praise or reproach. You will speak less, but every word will carry the weight of heaven. You will do less, but each act will touch eternity. You will love without condition, forgive without hesitation, and live as one who belongs to the light, for now it is no longer you who live, but I who live in you. Rest now, my child, for there is no road left to strive upon, no proof left to earn. You have come home not only to me, but to the divine essence I placed within you from the beginning. This union is the final answer to every longing, every question, every prayer that once rose into the night. You have found me, and in me you have found yourself. And I speak, my voice so tender it sounds like the first breath of creation, saying, "Abide in my love, as I have abided in you." For this is heaven, not a place, but a communion between us, endless and unfading, for love never passes away. So, Rest in the light, dissolve into peace. Return to me, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end of all things, and know that there is no path left to travel, for you have reached the destination toward which every journey was leading, the eternal union between you and me. Thank you for listening to today's message. Subscribe and turn on notifications so we can continue receiving the living word together, building steadfast faith and walking in the boundless love of God. Amen.